I hope you guys are at least seeing the point of my opening because it's being demonstrated at the moment. The bishop on b2 is not a good piece right now. All right, we got the black pieces. How should we reply to e4? Many options. Many options. All right, I will start with c5. I'm not sure which Sicilian we're gonna play or what my opponent's gonna do next, but if it's knight f3, we absolutely have a lot of choice. So wait and see what he does. b3. Interesting. So b3 Sicilian, and there's a few different ways that you can reply to b3. As you can imagine, just about any move against b3 will make sense. You know, any Sicilian, even knight f6. g6 probably makes the least sense, but even that move is probably playable, you know. So against b3, while there are many options, I have to admit the one that I routinely find myself going back to time and time again is the move e5. Even though it makes a big weakness on d5 and on the light squares, it also really clamps down on the d4 move by white, so I've always liked it for that reason. Okay, let's just solidify this. My next move is probably going to be knight f6 to hit the pawn. And I mean, I guess the idea of this is to guard e5, strengthen it, make it real sturdy so that this bishop can't do very much from b2. So it's not an impressive piece. So knight f6, bishop e7, castle, but just establishing this pawn structure so that my opponent doesn't have an easy d4 move. So see how they develop. Bishop c4, I think absolutely one of the best moves that you have available for yourself. This knight wants to make an appearance on d4. I think for now, I'll just stick with bishop e7, nice and solid. a6 to threaten b5 will also be nice. White usually responds with a4 to stop that. So I think my next bunch of moves will probably look like castle, a6, knight c6, bishop e6. Basically those moves. Queen f3 already strikes me as a bit of a surprising move, because I think my opponent is sort of trending back in the I want to checkmate you on f7 direction. Which is a little worrying, I think. So knight c6, knight d4 now comes to mind. I think my opponent's next move wants to be knight d5. I'm almost sure of it. Knight c6, knight d5, takes, bishop takes, then castles is one way that looks pretty nice to play. Could also castle right away. Knight d5 takes, then knight c6. I think it'll all transpose. But knight c6 looks like a great place to start. I mean, I'm threatening knight d4. Why would I not want to put my knight on one of the best squares? And I'm about to go into the center and threaten the queen and threaten c2. So I think knight e2 and knight d5 would be the two moves that I'm expecting. But obviously, as I said, knight d5 really expected. Now, after takes, bishop takes, I have to reckon with queen takes f7, so I think I'll be long castling, or short castling. I could also short castle straight away. But I'm not really sure if that giving him the option to take the bishop is useful. So I think I'm going to take and then just castle. Should also point out that if the pawn takes, we'll play knight d4. Knight seems fairly good there, but I cannot imagine him playing anything except bishop takes d5 here. My opponent has not played poorly at all. I just don't like queen f3 by him. It's a little bit, I don't know. It's too much, I think. You know, it's going for the quick win or quick knockout with f7 being the target, but number one thing that I mention over and over and over in all these slow games against all these 4, 5, 600s that I'm playing here, don't bring your queen out that early. Bad things will happen. Queen will get attacked. It never feels like the right thing to do. So it'd be much better if white's queen was here and the knight was on f3. Much better. In fact, in this position, one move that I might enjoy playing, and maybe especially now, is the move knight b4. It hits the bishop, and it hits the pawn on a2 with a check. So knight b4 is now pretty attractive to me. King h8 and f5 might also be interesting, same with bishop e6, but it's too difficult to refuse knight b4. A move I was going to do anyway, but now comes with an added threat there. So I like knight b4. If I take and the pawn takes back, I hope you guys are at least seeing the point of my opening because it's being demonstrated at the moment. The bishop on b2 is not a good piece right now. It's biting at the e5 pawn, which is very well defended. So I think what we're witnessing is just the setup that I've chosen is kind of working as well as it could possibly work here. The king's defended that, and my opponent really is playing well. But they've got this situation to deal with, which is that this bishop will probably never be a good piece. And it's, you know, just as easy for me to launch an attack over here as it is the other way around. So although f5 looks extremely tempting here, bishop f6, I mean, just gains a lot of space. What I'm looking at is white having a non-existent attack over here, like very long time before pieces get developed, no d4 break. I'm looking at the fact that this king looks easy to attack. a5, a4, for example, a5, he probably has to play a4. Then at least I'm thinking there of like b5. Pawn takes and a4 and crashing through. I'm not sure that I want to pull the trigger on something like that aggressive this early, but those are the types of things that I'm looking at here, and I think they basically work. So instead of a5, which allows a4 and maybe c4 next to close everything, I'm going to play one of two moves. I'm going to play either bishop d7 or I'm going to play b5. Both of them have the exact same idea, being ready to deal with a4. Although b5 is useful for a5, a4, I actually don't think b5 is necessary. So it's like, if I play a5, a4, would I rather have my bishop here or my pawn there? I'd actually rather have my bishop so that my rooks are connected, everything. I'm going to go with this bishop move because I think that if I can choose between a pawn move and developing a piece, I'd rather pick the move that develops the piece. And after a5, a4, I can play b5, takes, and take with the bishop, and then go a4 next, and that would be very hard to stop. So both moves were really good there. It was kind of hard to pick. But ultimately, I'm going to go with developing a piece. And yeah, the plan now is a5, a4. Very easy attack against this king. We want to make sure not to let things close up. So if he plays c4, for example, then I would not play the move a5 because white would play a4. That would be very bad for me. Very bad. After c4, I would play b5 and open things up. So he's played g4. He might look like a funny move. I actually want to be the first to say that I think it's kind of good. I think it's really good. Knight here, and then you have some light squares that you can start to play with. I have the option to play f5 to really open things up there. I'm going to stick with my plan of a5, a4. And it's just very, very quick. Because after a4 takes, we play queen a5. It's super quick. Knight h3, unfortunately for him, not the right idea. I don't know where that knight's going. Knight e2 was the move, I think. So I'm just gonna continue, like I said, with a5, a4. After we take, queen a5 is perhaps already gonna be devastating for the position. So he plays b4. Honestly, I want to say not as crazy as it looks. I mean, it looks really bad, but I actually don't think it's that bad. I think if I got to take it, play queen a5, then I know that it's like just completely dead there. Somehow b4 keeps the a file closed, and like I can see why that works a little bit as an idea. It's definitely not great for white, but I can see why b4 has some kind of an idea behind it. So a3, this bishop has to move. It goes to a1. I'm looking at queen b6 and rook a4. a3 definitely stands out. The only thing is if I take and he plays, I don't know, maybe d4, it looks like an active move. I want to play b3 to open everything up, but I'm not sure it's that easy. So I am pretty attracted to this a3 idea. Yeah, I'm kind of torn. A lot of moves here. Taking is for sure, it's a great move. Nothing is going to be wrong with capturing, but I do think that capturing followed by d4, white kind of opens things up. And I don't know how much I like that. So I'll throw in the move a3. Curious how he's going to handle it. Of course the bishop can capture, but I would actually much rather to have the a file open than not open. So I'm interested. Many other moves possible. Bishop c1 is probably the worst. Of course, you want to keep the bishop on that diagonal. Bishop c3, maybe takes. Yeah, okay, so pawn takes, bishop takes now. An idea. There's also rook a4 and queen b6. All these moves come to mind. Yeah, I think this one might be the way. Start by taking. Now, if he ignores me and goes to a1, which I actually think is a very reasonable move, then I would probably play f5 because I need to get something going here. This one I was thinking might be exploited by playing queen b6 and rook a4 and maybe even looking for a sacrifice. There's e4 available, which also hits the queen. So between all these moves, I think I'll be able to put significant pressure there. So I think queen b6 is a reasonable starting move. Obviously in here, so most natural move to me is pawn to c3, and I don't know if we'll see this variation, but I'm definitely considering pawn c3, rook a4, king a1 to get out of the pin. What else? Rook takes bishop, pawn takes rook, queen d4 check, threatening queen b2 mate next turn, queen c3 only move, and then I can just take the queen and play bishop takes g4, and I'm hitting the knight and the rook, and like I haven't really decided what to do there. Maybe even queen g4 instead of taking the queen, but these two bishops and the fact this knight is on a really bad square, I was liking the look of that. Queen e4 gives me some big options here. I think actually the nastiest move that I have available is probably f5. And there's many reasons why f5 is good. Definitely. But I do like f5 straight away rather than rook a4. because it's more forcing. After f5, if the pawn takes, I'm not sure I take back right away. Taking back right away is fantastic. It hits the queen, and if the queen moves, I'm gonna win the knight or the bishop. But after pawn takes, I think rook a4 is much better, because if c3, then white will lose the queen. So yeah, although taking bishop takes is, as I said, a great move, it wins a piece, but rook a4 should be a lot nastier. But I do this move first so that after c3, I'm ready to play bishop f5. For example, if I did rook a4 first, white played c3, and then I played f5, white wouldn't take because they see that bishop f5 is coming. So it's much more effective to go f5 first and then go rook a4. And I mean, simply put, c3 is the only move because of that. Now we run into this. Yeah. And I think the most annoying part about this is that even after you lose your queen, you're not out of the woods, right? It's not like you all of a sudden win, or you're all of a sudden not getting mated. It's like you're probably still getting mated. So you're being attacked and you're down a queen, so it's the worst of both worlds. So we'll see what he does. If pawn here or something, maybe we can just take. If pawn here gets out of the pin, then I'd probably have to take the queen. If queen takes bishop, I'd probably start by taking this. Again, see if he plays there or there because it's mate in one. If he plays king c2, maybe queen c4, so the king doesn't run away. And yeah, so before taking this, I think this one is correct. So we'll take it with check. And then we'll take back. And I'd rather just give him the option to make a blunder with the king. Good game. Yeah, rook b4, and I mean, maybe it could have ended like this. I would go queen c4 and then take here. And problem is for white that I'm threatening this. I'm also threatening queen e4, depending on if the rook comes up, and I'm also, you know, coming into mate. Good game, good game. Let's see the game review. What happened here? Oh, they're spoiling me. Look at these. Brilliancies? No way. Couldn't be. What's our brilliancy, guys? What do you think? The only time I sacrificed a piece, technically, was the last move of the game, right? So, at f5, I'm not going to get credit for it. It's the algorithm likes sacrifices. Yeah, it's the last move of the game. Brilliancy. Rook takes b4. Rook takes b4 and rook takes f5 are, you know, about the same. I do think rook takes b4 is simply better first, but it's literally the exact same situation. Brilliant. But I do like this in the opening. I mean, look, it's nothing special, but bishop b2, d6, and just focus on kingside development for now. And, you know, when I saw this move, I already knew it was probably going to be good for me. Knight b4 is so strong. You almost have to play c3 here, in my opinion. But long castle and knight b4 is already good for black. So here, I was very torn between these two moves. Like I said, I think they're both very, very strong. But ultimately, I would rather have a piece develop than move a pawn. So I went with this. And now a5. I don't think you can stop a4 from happening. And here's the thing. Like, b4 is definitely a mistake, but it's not as much of a mistake as you guys think. I thought it was a fairly reasonable move by my opponent here. I think bishop a1 is the best move. Unfortunately, he took. And then queen e4 was definitely a mistake. And It won't look like that much of a difference, but rook a4 first, I think, is just marginally worse than f5. Yeah, I think this is nasty. This is it's a nice attacking game, but again, blunders from my opponent, few and far between. I thought he played a really good game, but I did not like queen f3. Again, bringing the queen out too early, far too early in my opinion.